Hey everyone, George here with Wine Industry Network. Welcome to another edition of the Wine Insider Series. And we've got a good one for you today. We've got Joel Peterson, who's the Executive Director for the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance. We're going to learn a little bit more about Joel and his wine industry journey, which we always do. But learn a little bit more also about what's happening in Paso. It's very exciting. There's a lot of really great things happening in that wine region. And get Joel's take on some of what we're doing as an industry, what he thinks we're doing well, and maybe what we could be doing a little bit better job on. And then Joel is also going to be moderating a session at the Wine Industry Expo taking place on December 4th at Sonoma County Fairgrounds. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that as well. So thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy the interview. Joel Peterson, man, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, George. Looking forward to chatting with you more.
Well, it's really nice to meet you. And as we usually do with these Win Insider series, it's fun for me. I think it's fun for our audience to kind of learn a little bit about your journey, and then we're going to talk a little bit about your role at the alliance, and and just get into it a little bit. So, why don't we start with that, Joel? Talk a little bit about how you wound up in the position that you are, in a pretty important role in our industry, certainly down there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a dream job. I moved to Paso when I was in my early 30s. I before I lived in Hollywood, did some film and television. I had a film degree at that point, but I wanted to live in Paso and get in the wine industry. And my dad was from here, so I had connections to kind of just figure things out. Drug hoses for a while for Justin and for Everly, and just knew my way around the cellar a little bit. But then they had at that point just hired a new executive director, and they were just kind of moving and shaking. This is the early 2000s. I thought, man, this is going to be what a cool role to be the head of the wine association. And so I worked for Austin Hope for about 7 years and doing marketing, but I worked really closely with the association, the alliance, and saw what they did for marketing and road shows and just branding the region. And then cut to about 15 years later, I was head of marketing over at a beer company called Firestone Walker Brewing Company.
Yeah.
This role became open, and I applied, and a few months later, I had the role. So I think I had enough wine experience here in Paso to have connections and have a know-how of how Paso works. And I had a little bit more of a background in marketing and branding, which I think they wanted to see. So it was a good connection.
Well, I definitely want to get into that a little, but now I'm curious about your film and television work. What did you do down there?
So, I did a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So my first job ever was getting coffee for Kevin Costner on the set of Tin Cup. So that dates me a little bit. And then I was a production coordinator, ended up being a production manager, ended up kind of producing some small films. I was doing a lot of independent stuff for Miramax and MTV at that point. And it was fun. Hollywood's a place that loves youth. And so it was fun to work 80-hour weeks, and I always equate kind of film production to harvest for winemakers. You're working, and it is fun. But at the end of the day, I had this affinity for wine. I wanted to get into the wine scene. So Paso it seemed like a nice connection because I had ties here through my dad. So
yeah, no, that's interesting, man. So I'm a big supporter of winery associations. I mean, I just think that they play such a key role in the success of our industry. So before launching Wine Industry Network, the previous 15 to 20 years was just pure winery stuff. I was mainly on the marketing management side, probably like yourself.
Yeah.
But board member I'm up here in Sonoma County, so board member wine growers of Dry Creek Valley, Russian River Wine Road, and then I was on the board for Sonoma County Vintners for I think it was probably nearly 12 years.
Wow.
And I don't think they get enough credit for the work that they do. It's kind of I remember we had this series of articles that we did. I forget what we called it. It was kind of like the unsung heroes, right? And I was talking about people that work for associations, right? You don't get the limelight. You're not going to get on the cover of the Wine Spectator and things like that. But you're out there, making things happen for your region. So talk a little bit about the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, because it's not just a winery and association.
Correct. Yeah, it's Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, and actually rebranded back in before 2005 when it was founded in '93. It was called the Paso Robles Vineyards and Growers Association. So technically, as growers and wineries together united. And then when Stacey Jacob was the ED back in '05, she rebranded it as Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, which I think it really just tells that story of it's hoteliers, it's growers, it's restaurants, it's everyone basically who wants to be a part of this wine region. And so we do the hard work of kind of branding. We run the website pasowine.com. We do the annual wine festival, Paso Wine Fest. We have a wine app. We've got the map that we do every year. So we really just market the region from a consumer point of view, because really, to your point, this is before there was like these big things that were like the tourism improvement districts, right? The hotel taxes. So we were doing the marketing for Paso before there was a Travel Paso. Now, luckily enough, we're lucky to have a Travel Paso now, and they're good partners. But we do that work for trade and media as well, making sure we're doing consolidated tastings with different writers, James Suckling or, Jeb Dunnick, wine enthusiast, wine advocate, doing things like that, doing buyers trips, bringing 5, 10, 15 buyers a year through here, making sure they're understanding what Paso looks like, doing media trips and things like that. So it's all those things that together really tell the story of the region. And to your point, it's that collective voice that we need, because sometimes it's hard to have just with one winery or one brand telling that story. You need to have a collective voice, which is
I agree. So is Travel Paso kind of the equivalent of like Sonoma County? We have our tourism bureau. So is that
exactly. That's what Travel Paso is. Yeah, okay. And I think Napa Valley has like Visit Napa Valley. So they're the ones who get their funding through the hotel taxes.
Yeah. Well, I'm 100% on board with it. It's like getting those three, a kind of reference here, right? We have our growers, our vintners, and our tourism, right? And making sure that all three of those organizations are pulling on the same rope in the same direction, and at the same time, trying to make sure you're not duplicating efforts where possible. It makes a huge difference, right? And for the most part, it's usually easy to get those, three different groups aligned, but there's some challenges there.
Yeah, there's always some challenges, but for the most part, we're doing that same. I'm lucky enough where Stacy Jacob, who was the previous executive director of this organization, is now the president and CEO of Travel Paso. So she kind of knows what we're doing here. The city council is really behind the work that we're doing. So we have a small contract with the city to kind of do some marketing, regional marketing for the region. And even we work with the Chamber of Commerce. We share a building here in downtown Paso with the Chamber of Commerce. So we all try to just make sure we're working together to tell that story of the region.
Are you guys primarily focused on promoting the region as a destination, or if someone's looking at a wine list or they're ready to pick a wine off the shelf, that they're going to pick something from Paso over somewhere else? Or what's the balance there?
That's a good question. So the Travel Paso is more the destination marketing, where they're trying to figure out, hey, if you want to come to Paso for a family reunion, a bike trip, a girls' getaway, like they're doing the destination, and then we really take over when it's like, hey, what is Paso known for? Okay, we've got 60 varietals. Half of it's Cabernet, or what makes the Willow Creek AVA different than Templeton Gap AVA. So we're really kind of going into the wine geek, like the wine technical knowledge that sets it apart, and talking to buyers about, to your point, do you want to put Paso wine on your list next to Sonoma, next to Napa, or what makes it different? Things like that. Whereas the Travel Paso group does a little bit more of the destination marketing to get people here.
Okay. All right. How is the region doing? It's like, speak, from up here, it's like, we all know it's no secret, right? These are tough times, but some regions I think are doing better than others. And from the outside looking in, for me, what I love about, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, about how I sort of got familiar with, the Paso region. It still feels kind of a throwback there. So it's like, I know some places are struggling more than others, but how are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing well. I mean, it's not all unicorns and rainbows here as well. I think we definitely have some brands who are struggling, and visitation's down a little bit. But the way I like to tell it, the last 2 membership meetings we've had is we're doing better than a lot of other regions, and so we're down about between 4 and 6% visitation wise, and then sales is about the same. There's some brands that are flat or up, but people are still coming to Paso. It's definitely like a throwback in terms of there's still places that have either no tasting fees or $10 tasting fees. You still can get great bottles of wine here between $30, $40, $50 a bottle, which is really nice. Sometimes regions can kind of outprice themselves, and we've seen some of that too in some of our channels. But overall, we're doing well. The nice thing is we've actually have more things to do here in Paso and more wineries, which then that's the problem, because there maybe the wineries think that they're down a little bit, but we still have visitation still flat, but there's just more wineries for them to see, or there's more art installations, or there's more, there's now a distillery trail. There's like 12 distillers here in our region. So I think there's just more for them to do, which kind of, takes a little bit off the top there.
Yeah, things get diluted a little bit. We certainly have experienced that here. I remember when I first got my first job in the wine industry in the early 90s, I was out in Dry Creek Valley, just outside of Hillsburg. I think there were like 25 wineries. Now there's like 50 wineries. I don't even know. So there's just, we're not bringing in twice as many people, right? So it's kind of figuring out how do you get more than your fair share. But I do think, kind of referencing some of what you said before, I think Paso has become like an alternative to maybe people who maybe we're exploring other regions. Again, I'm a Sonoma County guy. I support Sonoma County. I've done a lot of work over in Napa. but for your, we talk a lot about how do we better connect with these younger consumers in their 30s, let's say, and it's gotten quite expensive to come.
It's tough. Yeah. I mean, we floated the idea of doing a wine bid as well. I know Sonoma's floated talked about that. And we went through that process pretty extensively 2 years ago. And ultimately our board said, hey, let's just hold tight for now. Let's just not go forward. But we did, a lot of discovery, a lot of researching, and I don't think we quite had the appetite for it yet, but we might visit that in a year or two. I mean, it's obviously very controversial as you guys have found out up there. So
yeah, it is. It's an interesting, I certainly have my own opinion on it. I think that a lot of how those things are received depend on how they're presented.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And, but certainly, I think it's something that just needs to stay on the table. It's something you need to look at, right? Because it's all about, you need the money.
Yeah, you need the money, and we're lucky. We're really blessed here in Paso Robles. We got just over 200 wineries. We've got about 180 in our association. So we've got 85-90% of the wineries are in our association. They pay a pretty healthy dues membership, but our job is to deliver for them and really show up with member support, with trade relations, with consumers. Our job is to make sure they're really feeling supported. So whether they're paying us $1,000 a year or $20,000 a year, they're really feeling like they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah,
and that's our job. We've got a great, hardworking staff of about 6 people here. So we're not lean, we're not huge, but we're not tiny. We're 6 people full time, and cranking every day on making sure our members are getting customers through the door.
Well, I think at the end of the day, too, I mean, it's nice that wines are a little bit more affordable, that the tasting experiences are a little bit more affordable. I think that try to keep it that way, right? Because I'm telling you, that's very appealing. I remember my first real exposure to the region was my last kind of corporate job. I worked for Jim Beam. Jim Beam had a wine division, and they purchased Wild Horse in the Tascadero. And
that's right. Yeah.
A lot of things have happened with Wild Horse back, since that time. But I remember I said, I don't know if I want to go down. They go, oh, you don't have to go down. You can still live up here. But they hired me to be a brand manager. And it's like, we'll go down and check it out and see what you think, meet the people, okay, I'll go down there. And it was like one of the greatest experiences of my life, because everyone that worked at the winery were just super cool, super passionate. I think they all went to Cal Poly.
Yeah.
They took me out, like the greatest lunch I've ever had. I think we drank like a case of wine between like 12 of us. And then it forced me to kind of get to know the region a little bit, and some of the people down there. The brewery, Firestone, I a lot of bunches there as well. And the quality of the products is just outstanding. I mean, the wines are really, really good down there. And I think that your reputation for quality wines continues to grow. Probably has a lot to do with the work that you guys have been doing.
No, thank you. It's fun. It's a dream job. I tell people that. I've been here 7 years, and I still love it, just like I did on day one. But it's cool to have brands that really support the work that we do. And whether that be, we've always got, it seems like one of the larger wineries on our board supporting us, whether that be a Justin or a Hope or a J-Lore or Dow, someone who kind of can have that 30,000 view of, hey, we have wine in 50 states and 20 countries, to the small guys who are making 4,000 cases and have a 90% DTC brand. So they all work together, knowing that it takes all that, because when they know that the big guys, Castoro or Hope, they bring people to Paso, and then they're just going to discover the small and medium brands. And so it all works together, and just making sure that we tell that story to everyone so they see where their dues are going is helpful.
Well, and I know it's an overused cliche in our industry, but it really is an all ships rise with the tide situation, right? So the big guys benefit from what the little guys are doing, right? Because they have a great experience at one of your small producers, but then they're back in their, wherever they're from, and they're looking at a wine list and they see something from Paso, and it may not be a brand they even are that familiar with. If they had a good time at Paso, it's that little guy. And so it is interesting how it all sort of works together.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's funny. My first glass of Paso wine wasn't in Paso. I was in New York. It was the year before I moved here. I was in New York, and I was at Gramercy Tavern, and there was like Liberty School Cabernet from Paso by the glass. I'm like, oh, my dad's from Paso. I'm going to order this glass, and sure enough, 20 years later, I'm working here. So it's cool to see how those big brands can really open the door for someone, whether they're in Costco or on a wine list, and they're like, oh, that's a cool region. And so many times they show up here, and then they just fall in love with the region. Just kind of the thing that happens in Sonoma and Napa,
Yeah, no doubt. So I have a question for you. So for us up here, we feel like when we're thinking about our home city, San Francisco, right? We need to win in San Francisco, and now we put a lot of effort. There's always it seems like every little organization is doing a little, taste in the city at some point or other throughout the year.
Yeah.
For you guys, is that LA?
Yeah, it really has been. LA's been our backyard for years and years. We have put quite a bit of effort into San Jose lately. I'd say
Okay.
the last 3 years. And so San Jose has quickly become our number two market and kind of creeping up into the Bay. But as you know, the Bay's pretty loyal to Napa, Sonoma, and even Lodi to a certain point. But we're getting there. Also, Fresno and Bakersfield are real close. So we're about
Yeah.
2 hours from both Fresno and Bakersfield. And you'd be
Yeah.
surprised how many people come over to the coast and stop in Paso and spend, whether it be a night or a week, and they love it here. So
No, I mean, I think strategically, that South Bay, San Jose South Bay is a great place to strategically attack, right? Because,
yeah.
it's not that much further. It's a little bit further for them to drive that way, but it's a nice drive, right? Because like once you start getting south of San Jose,
There's not much traffic. Yeah.
It's clear sailing.
I can get to San Jose Airport from here in like 2.5 hours, which is nice.
Yeah, it's clear sailing.
Yeah, and San Jose has been a great market for us. Same thing with Travel Paso. We've kind of invested in them, and that's been fun. And then LA and San Diego even. It's like there's a quick stop flight now in Alaskan from SLO to San Diego. It's 50 minutes, and if you get it right, it's only $100, $150. So it's nice.
No, we're lucky like that. We've got Santa Rosa Airport, and that's there's a lot of flights.
Yeah.
Alaska flights in and out. So just being to go up and down from Seattle to San Diego, right? It's great. And my daughter just graduated from Cal Poly down there, and
cool.
She's flown out of the little airport a couple of times. Yeah. It's super convenient.
Nice, yeah, very convenient.
Have you guys so you got into this role in 2019?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're just settling in, then COVID hits.
Exactly. Yeah, I started in January, February of 19. Had a year under my belt, and then a year later is when COVID hit. So we kind of went from really being a marketing agency to like a year of just advocacy and communication. In 21 and 22, and then now I feel like we're back at full marketing starting in 23, and that's when kind of the industry in general has kind of saw that plateau and that flattening off and even downward trend. But it's been tough. I mean, you guys have been talking about it, and the Wine Institute is how do you attract that zillennial, that older millennial. I mean, excuse me, younger millennial, older Gen X, Gen Z, and just making it work and talking to them about where they are and making sure that we have wines that are affordable, that are approachable, and we're not talking to people up here. We need to meet people where they're at, which is going to the ballpark, going to the beach, backyard barbecues, and I think we need to do a better job of that.
No, I completely agree with you. It's like sometimes I say as simply as like, can we just make wine fun?
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to be so serious? Can we just
serious
and relax a little bit, right?
The thing I always say is like, we move at glacial speeds. We still put this amazing product that we make in a glass bottle and put a piece of wood in it. You need a special tool to get the wood out. So it's sometimes it's a little barrier to entry,
Well, what's funny is I said this, I've said it a few times now. It's like, I feel like a lot of what we're challenged with is not really, we don't have a product problem, right? So we have a good product.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times as a marketer, right, you kind of go, okay, what are we dealing with? We've got a product problem. That's how you kind of easily address that, right? You kind of make your product better, right? We have a good product, top to bottom. So it's these other levers that we need to figure out how to pull, whether it's our pricing, our promotion, what are we saying? Where are we saying it? Who are we saying it to? And that's the part I don't think we have quite, we're still working on. It's like a work in progress.
Yeah. And then we get jealous when we have these really weird feelings when some people have success. When there was a movement with like natural, we're like, no, there's no such thing as good natural wine. It's like, let's not get over our skis, or the people are talking about wine's healthy, or there's, low carbs or gluten free. And then, we get too precious about that. It's like, hey, if it's working, man, let's use that.
I completely agree with you, man. It's so funny. Like, even some of the non-alc, low alc, where they're like, it tastes like crap. Like, okay, everybody calm down. Like, who cares? It kind of reminds me when I first got in the industry, if you were like, oh, kind of wine, like Zinfandel. Oh, we got some Zinfandel. No, I like white Zinfandel. And you'd be like, people would like look down on them, okay, that's brilliant. Yeah. Now that guy's not going to drink. Now he's just going to order a cocktail, right? Like, who cares what gets them in? Because we all know that there's a natural evolution of a wine consumer is that you start with whatever you start with, right? Maybe it's a little bit sweeter. It doesn't matter.
Right, it doesn't matter.
But you will evolve to find things. You'll want to try things that are different, right? That's the thing. We don't want to have the same wine every day. We want to, it's just part of the deal, right? You want to try different things.
No, a good example is that I was working for Austin Hope for years, and we launched this brand called Candor, which was like non-vintage, which everyone thought was like sacrilege. It's like, it Here's a $19 bottle of Merlot. And then we have this new product called Troublemaker, which now is like a 100,000 case brand. And we weren't putting the vintage on it. And people thought we were crazy. I'm like, do you think someone who's buying a $19 bottle of wine is worried about what vintage is out of Paso? Like, it doesn't make it taste great. And that's all you have to do.
It's like sometimes it's like common sense is like, it's like some of the decisions sort of defy common sense, right? It's like, who cares? Like, nobody cares. Like, they just want it to taste good. And
the cool thing is, if you do care, there's so many amazing wines and winemakers and brands who will talk to you about that vintage and that soil and that site and that AVA. Trust me, we got that. But let's let the bottom part of that floodgate open up and let more people into the club here.
yeah, bigger tent. What do you guys talk about? Some of those? You have a number of different consumer events that you guys do. If you talk about that a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got so just from a chronological stand, we kick off in February with a really cool event called BlendFest on the coast, and we're super close to the Pacific Ocean. So we bring about 40 wineries. We go over to Cambria and San Simeon and pour wine. Looking at the Pacific Ocean. It's all about blends because, as you know, Paso got crazy blends. Zinfandel and Cab, or Rhone blends, Cab blends. That's really fun. And then we do a big event in May called Paso Wine Fest. We've been doing it since 1983. It's 35 plus years old. That's draws between 3,000 and 5,000 people. We have 125 of our wineries pour at that event. It's at the Paso Robles Event Center. For years, it was in the downtown park. We kind of outgrew the park, and now we're at the event center. That's a really cool event that just draws all kinds of people.
Where's the event center?
It's just about 6 or 7 blocks north of downtown. So it's where the Mid-State Fair happens, just kind of off the 101.
Yep, I know where it is. Okay, great.
That's in May. We do typically a road show. In June, we either go to San Jose. This year we did Fresno. In September, we go to Bakersfield. We do road shows where we'll hit 2 or 3 cities and just like take Paso on the road, which is such a great way to introduce people to stuff. And then Harvest Wine Month is October. So all of October we've got events at all the wineries. We really promote that on our website and our app.
Now, this might not be an event that your organization puts on, but isn't there something too on the square down in Paso that goes on? It's like another.
We had the Paso Wine Fest was on that square for years, and we just kind of outgrew it. So there's no longer in that square. But yeah, it was there for 30 years. It's just so big now.
That's awesome. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like everything else getting smaller. So that's great.
It's a good problem. Yeah.
Well, you've got that the fairgrounds is huge, right? So you got plenty of room to work with. It's massive.
Yeah. We only take up one corner of, you've probably been to Bottle Rock or even like the Wind Conference. Like we're only taking up one little section of the fairgrounds.
Yeah. We have our little trade show at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. And even though it's pretty big, it's bigger than what we have down there at YBI, but it still doesn't take up, there's still a lot of property at those old fairgrounds are something else.
Oh, I love them. No, I've been to your show up in Santa Rosa. I've been to the one in Napa. Ours is the same way. They're all built in the 50s or 60s, and they've kind of been like piecemealed on.
Yeah, exactly. Do you guys as these events have evolved and kind of getting back to finding ways to better connect with some of our young consumers? Are you guys doing anything different to try to make yourself a little more attractive?
It's funny. We're spending more money on socials, on Google and on Meta and more on Instagram. But the cool thing is we've had some success with WineFest. This year was the first year ever because you can kind of break down what age group is buying your tickets. And for the first year ever, our highest tier of demographics was 35 to 44, which we were super stoked about. And then the second tier was 35 to 34. So it's like we really are starting to skew a little younger, which we really need as an industry. I think it's just probably the Google and the Meta. And then also at that event, we've gotten away from just the walk around tasting where you're just like table. The brands actually do activations and they're serving, some fun food with a glass of their wine, or there's a thing they're doing interactively. There's people dressed up in themes. We've brought in the local distillery trail, so maybe every 5th thing they have is maybe they're going to have a locally made gin, and just make it more experiential and also incorporated food. So I think the day of like the walk around tasting where it's just like 100 tables lined up in a row are gone by the wayside, I think.
Yeah. Those are like old speed dating, right? Like how many tables can you get to, right? And how hammered can you get by the
just
time
make it fun and the brands can show their personality and they're giving out cool stuff. I think that's what you see. The people who come, they maybe got groups of 4 or 6 people, and someone's super into wine, someone's doing it for the first time, and they're learning from each other, and it makes it a fun experience for everyone, I think.
Well, there's actually a bunch of like hotels you can actually walk to the tasting from, which is pretty nice too.
For sure. Yeah, Paso's been lucky. We have a lot of tasting downtown now, which is new, obviously. And then there's a place called Tin City. I don't know if you heard of Tin City. Is between Paso and Templeton. And man, there's like 25 brands there. And that's all sprung up in the last 10, 15 years.
I was reading about that. Talk a little bit about that because I think that's another cool
Yeah.
destination to give people a reason to come to Paso.
It's really cool. So Tin City started out as industrial complex where there was a guy like the contractor, there was an auto shop down there. But then a couple of wineries started and said, hey, we're going to make our wine in the back and then we're going to sell it out of the front. And quickly it just took off because the small brands, people who couldn't afford vineyards and couldn't afford this big estate, they're like, great, I'm going to rent this little space, and it's called Tin City because all the buildings are metal, and you can make your wine in the back, develop this really cool tasting room in front, and like I said, it's evolved from 2 or 3 initially to just about over 25 at this point, and it's just great. They do a big forklift parade. All the different wineries decorate their forklifts during the holidays, and they do that parade. It's just a really cool, fun, unique, and everyone's kind of younger down there too. I think the average age of the winemaker there is probably 28 or 30 years old, which is neat.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like, again, it's like just a deviation from what always was, right? So you had to have a chateau out in the country overlooking your vineyards, right? It's like it's a different mindset. The funny thing is, and I know like we've had some of the like industrial wineries, right, that popped up, industrial production facilities, and the same thing with the tasting rooms that started like here in Hillsburg. And sometimes I'm just so wrong. I just get it so absolutely wrong. I remember thinking, who's going to want to like bounce around in town, or who's going to want to go taste at the business park there? But people love it, right? Because it's
they do, and then you round it out. So there's like a pasta factory down there, and there's a brewery, and there's like a gelato shop, and there's an olive oil show. So it's like not everyone has to drink wine; they can kind of do the whole experience.
Well, and I think it really kind of underscores this, like, you don't have to take yourself so serious, right? You don't have to have this sick estate to make beautiful wine.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to keep telling that story. And I think that's the other thing I think that's lost a little bit in this is like, things aren't great, but it isn't like the industry is like falling apart. Like there's still some success stories out there, and we need to keep improving. But there are some brands who are just having fun, attracting new people, and really bringing some people in. So we need to celebrate that too, instead of just wringing our hands and how bad it is sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, wringing your hands is like literally accomplishes nothing.
Yeah,
right, nada. I've really, and I've said this on a couple other interviews. I do think that, and I'm not. Doesn't come from me, but challenging times are really what drives innovation, right? Mothers and necessity is the mother of invention. But I really do think that fast forward, I don't know if it's going to be 2 years or 10 years or whatever, but we will look back at this period as incredibly important, right? Because it forced us to change. I think for getting fresh energy into our industry with new ideas, people that aren't burdened by doing things simply that's because it's the way we've always done them, is at the end of the day, it's going to be very good for our industry. It just sucks right now.
It sucks to go through it. Yeah. And I think Sonoma was in the same boat as Paso, but so many wineries were started in, I think, in the late 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
And we hit that 40-year mark. And I think mom and dad are either, passing away or trying to hand off that business to their kids. The kids may or may not want it. They're like, man, I'm going to work that hard and not make a lot of money. And I think that transition's really tough for a lot of regions. And so this is like that time when I think we're really figuring out some of that shakeout. At the same time, we overplanted 10 years ago. So there was just so many, acres of vineyard that just probably aren't needed at this point. So
yeah, no, I think you said it perfectly. I've tried to find a way to verbalize that as well, but you said it perfectly. I think a lot of the people that have enjoyed this ride and had a lot of success, they're getting tired. There's no secret to what you need to be doing right now. You need to be getting out there. You need to be working harder than ever, right? So it's like, but when you're 65 or 75 or whatever the number is, you're like, holy shit, I've already done that. Like, I just can't. And the kids, to your point, that grew up in it, they're like, no, thank you.
Yeah, they want to be dad or mom, or they want to like coach soccer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, the parents they hustled, and they would like down here we had like the Gary Eberleys or the Doug Beckett's of the world, and Robert Hall, and Justin Baldwin. They were on every flight. We'd see him, and they were just hustle, and they helped build the brand and help build the region. But at a certain point, we've got to make sure we're continuing to do that. That's why we're doing our road shows and all the events we do.
Yeah, those are kind of the old dream chasers, right? So we need, that's what I call them. So we need some new dream chasers, but I think the kids are like, nah, I'll just join 5 wine clubs. I'll go to a couple blending parties. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'll do a picking party, a blending party, and I'm good.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
we've got you coming up. You're going to be at the expo. You're going to be moderating one of our sessions that really focuses on how to leverage the where the grapes are coming from as part of your marketing. So can you talk a little bit about the session that you're going to be moderating?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for having me up there to be a moderator. It's about marketing the vineyard and it's really showcasing some vineyards who've done a good job of doing that. So we've got Ridge, which, as you know, I think probably top of a lot of people's list. They've got, they source from vineyards all over California, and they really lead with that vineyard. Okay, they have a Ducey Zin from Paso. They've got a Montebello. They've got stuff from Sonoma, Napa, Santa Cruz Mountains, and so they really showcase that in their storytelling. So Ryan Johnson, who's their director of marketing, will be on. We've got the folks from McCrosty, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but the winemaker from that winery in Sonoma, and they have the Nightwing Vineyard, which is really cool. And then they've also got Markham and Napa. So they kind of the same thing. They understand really marketing vineyards to really specific, brilliant, vineyard sites, which make brilliant wines, but telling the story really well about the vineyard, not just about the brand or not just about the juice, but really where those vines are grown, where the wine is grown. And then we've got Marshall Miller from Miller Family, and they have obviously Bien Nacido and French Camp Vineyards. So they have 2 of the historic vineyards here in the Central Coast, and they've seen success in marketing those brands as well. So it's just kind of cool to see the different 3 different regions or 4 different regions we're going to talk about, and then the marketers and the winemakers who really had success doing that. And I can't wait to moderate that panel.
Well, I think it's going to be great. It's really, I was really happy that we were going to get Marshall up here, in particular, right? Because it's always great to get people from outside the region, and Bien Nacido is so well known. I mean, they were one of the first really vineyard operations that I think just did an outstanding job of marketing themselves as an ultra premium grape growing place, if you will.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so McCrosty was the name of that winery. Sorry, I stumbled over my words. It was McCrosty, so
you want to leave anybody out. Well, Joel, listen, this is great. We're very grateful that you're going to be up here participating in the expo on December 4th. Any parting words, anything for anybody, I guess, who's watching that is interested in any of your upcoming events or learning about the organization? What should they do? How do they find out?
Yeah, PasoWine.com is our website, and so that's everything on there, from the different AVAs to all the different wineries, the hotels, the restaurants, all the what makes Paso special. We've got an app that we're really proud of called the Paso Wine app. It's free. It's on all Android, Google devices, Apple devices. And then we've got a podcast, which is really fun. It's called Where Wine Takes You. And it's been fun. We started that podcast during the pandemic, and we're up to 150 episodes, almost a 250,000 downloads. So it's been a lot of fun. It's weekly, and we grab a couple winemakers, open some wines, and talk about what makes Paso special. So
do you host that?
I don't. We have a host, but I go on about every quarter and talk. But we got a great. He's a local radio personality who's just got a great voice about him. So you
come on. You're like the special guest there. You come on once a quarter.
Exactly. Fun, special voice.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, Joel, listen. Thanks again, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you in December. We just really appreciate the work that you guys do, and thanks for everything.
Thanks. We'll see you in December. Take care.
All right. Take care. Well, thanks to Joel for joining us today. I hope everyone in the audience enjoyed the conversation. Again, if you're looking to learn a little more information about what's happening down in Paso, you can go to PasoWine.com. And for those of you interested in the session that Joel's going to be moderating, it's the North Coast Wine Industry Expo taking place on December 4th in Sonoma County Fairgrounds. And you can learn more about that going to wineindustryexpo.com. And you can even use my promo code for a free trade show pass or a discount on the conference. That's just George25. Once again, thanks for joining us. I hope you liked it. Make sure you like our YouTube channel and stay tuned for upcoming Insider Series interviews.